All right, so let's talk about 6 healing sounds. Everybody's back. I can see everybody too. Good job, everybody. So as we've discussed on a number of occasions, the Daoists, the people that lived up in their monasteries, were looking for ways to live longer. And, you know, this was a big deal back then because, like now, they were surrounded by, you know, disease and bad nutrition. You know, the Grubhub person would bring them just a little bit of rice, you know. That's what they were living on back in those days. So between bad nutrition and the same flus that we're facing now, and I was telling somebody this the other day, Chinese medicine is based upon learning to survive the flu, because every village in those days had their animals living in close approximation to them. They'd live on the upper floor, you know, the lovely dog and all the other critters, the chickens, the pigs, whatever, would live downstairs. So they were literally cheek by jowl. What a great expression, cheek by jowl. And that's literally true. The people with cheeks would be upstairs. The piggies downstairs with the jowls would be downstairs. This made for easy transferal of viruses from animals to people, okay? And as a result, bugs would go back and forth, and just like we've had with the coronavirus, which we believe came from some animal source, God knows whether it was a pangolin, which kind of looks, you know, like a raccoon, or you know, a bat. Somebody got something. It had mutated in the critter. They ate it because it just looked so appetizing. And, you know, the next thing you know, we have something going. Well, this has been going on for centuries. The Daoists were trying to figure out ways in which they could keep themselves healthy so that when all this disease was going on around them and they were locked away and locked down in their temples or whatever, they could stay healthy. So at a time when most people were dying in their 30s, these guys, and I'm sorry to say, it was pretty much a male fraternity, lived on into their 60s and 70s, pretty much a normal lifespan that we have now. Although there are some fabled accounts of people living to 120 or whatever, and we don't really know whether to believe that or not. But to the villagers around them, these old codgers living up in the mountains at Eagle or wherever, Ginny, they were living, you know, 2 or 3 lifetimes, okay, because they just knew how to take care of themselves. Some of it was they ate better because they grew their own food and they ate a pretty clean diet. They also had access to clean water. They weren't drinking the water that the sewage was in, which was happening down in the village. You know, they had a pretty good life, and they spent a lot of time, you know, doing the things that you guys do, Tai Chi, Qigong, whatever. But one of the theories that they had is that the reason why disease happens is that as we get older, things start to stagnate. And we all can attest to that. Nothing is working as well as it did when we were in our 20s. But what they did was they came up with exercises that were designed to keep qi moving and get rid of some of the enemies of our body, which is an accumulation of heat, too much damp, you know, too much dryness, you know, all of the pathogens that start to accumulate as we get older. And one of the things they figured out was by vibrating the organs, by making subvocal noises, they could, you know, maintain good health. And that's kind of what the 6 healing sounds is all about. They take the 6 primary organs, the 5 yin organs, and then one sort of strange organ that is the triple warmer, which we've talked about in the past, the 3 burners, if you will. And we vibrate those with our subvocal noises, and we use our hands to stretch those areas, and we can get rid of pathogens, and we feel better, okay? So that's what this is all about, and that's why you're doing it. I can just speak from my own personal experience. I'm getting stagnant sitting around the house, you know, probably like the rest of you. And I know how to do all these things. And now I got to stop being lazy and get out there and do them and not just keep talking about them to all of you. So I have the same challenge I have the same challenge that all of you have. Okay? So essentially what you're going to be doing, and I strongly recommend you do these during COVID times, because it will clear you of pathogens, strengthen your immune system, and generally, help you feel better. Okay? So we're going to run through these, and we'll answer questions if you have them about any of these particular exercises. We've all done them. Ginny, you've done this with us before, haven't you? 6 healing sounds? Okay. Everybody, Kathy, I know you've done it. I think I sent you something. Everybody should have handouts. So you can go back over and look at it.
I've had it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. All right, so let's start off. We go in a particular order because, each one of these is associated with an element. And we're going to start off with the lung, okay? And the lung is the metal meridian, and the color of metal is this thing that Ginny liked so much. See that sort of gray, silvery color? Or white. That's the color of the lung. So I'm in my lung room, okay? This is the color of the lung. I actually have a bunch of the colors, I think, on me, okay? Except for red, okay? But I think I've got all of them kind of clustered around me in some way or another. Okay, now the lung, the hand position, as remember, is by pushing up. And the idea here is you want to get a strain down the inside of your arm, okay, down this part of your arm. And the reason is the lung channel starts actually near your belly, runs up through the lung, and runs down to your thumb. Okay, so it runs here. So when you're pushing up and you feel that little strain down here, you're actually pulling on the lung channel. The sound of the lung is like air coming out of a tire, Like, you stuck a nail in your tire and pulled it out, and that's what you'd hear, okay? So that's the sound we make. And remember, we make it subvocally. I don't want all of you sounding like snakes, okay? So we want to have that. You'll probably be able to hear me pretty prominently because this thing is right next to my mouth. But that's good because you can get to hear it, okay? But don't make a really loud noise. You'll frighten Ginny's dog, okay?
He just left.
So enough of this. This is crazy stuff. So, okay. So inhale, push up. And down. When you bring your hands down to the rest position, the palms are up. They rest on top of your thighs, and we begin to think about a couple of things. We think about where our lungs are. Okay, I think all of you should know where your lungs are. We think of the color. Think of this nice color behind me, or think of white or silver color. Okay. And the negative emotion associated with the lung that we can get rid of is grief. Okay, grief. I was reading a treatise today by two scholars who are talking about sort of the history of the lung in ancient Chinese texts. And the lung is tied obviously closely to the heart, just like it is in Western medicine. And what they say is when we experience grief, it kind of oppresses the heart. And we talk about the concept of heartbroken. If we stay grieving for long periods of time, we essentially can, have a negative effect on our hearts, and we read about people, who have been married forever and a spouse dies and then they die a day or two later, their heart stops. This is what the Chinese believed. In addition, since we're getting rid of grief, crying and sobbing is also associated with the lung, because you're crying, you bring the fluids up from inside up through the lung, and they come out in your eyes. Okay, that's the crying. And sobbing is irregular qi. So instead of having normal breathing, you're kind of making a coughing, sobbing noise. So the lung negative emotion is grief, and we're letting go of that. And I think in this day and age with COVID, I think a lot of us are grieving for our old lives, or if we, God forbid, know somebody that became ill and passed away. This is a time of grief, for the country because of this terrible illness. So anyway, so that's what we're getting rid of. The positive emotion that you get from the lung is what we call reason, rationality, the ability to be clear and righteous and think through things. So we want to stay clear in our heads and get rid of the sadness that we feel. All right, next one. Here we go again. And down. Think of that nice, where the lungs are. Think of them being nice and clear and white, getting rid of any pathogens that might be in there, any little COVIDs running around in there. You want to get rid of those. And let go of grief. And then finally, the last one. Here we go. Last of the three we're doing. And down. Good. Any questions about that from anybody? Everybody clear on kind of what we're doing there? Good set of exercises, particularly in the here and now. Okay. All right. Next one we're going to do is kidney. We all know where our kidneys are, you know, right here, right? The color associated with the kidney is like either a black, like I have on either side of me, or a nice royal kind of blue. I don't know what's behind Annie there, but it looks like she's got something that's almost like blue or turquoise. Is that what's behind?
Green, yeah.
Green?
With
Yeah. No, green is for liver. We'll save that for later. But sort of a dark blue, you know, or a black is the color. We all know what the kidney does in terms of Western, but it also has the same function in Chinese medicine, particularly in the bladder, you know, helps us pee. Kidney is associated with the negative emotion of fear. And I'm sorry to say that in this day and age, most of us are just scared witless. I mean, we're either, you know, I mean, when they started saying that COVID was looking for all of us because we're old timers, you know, it was like, we don't want to hear that. You know? So the thing we need to breathe out when we get freaked out is fear. And of course, the opposite side of that is courage and will. Okay. I mean, I think these times, you know, if you're watching what I'm seeing on TV, reminds me of back in the 60s when we had riots, and I don't know where all of you were, but I was in college when Kent State happened, and, you know, that kind of freaked everybody out. And so, you know, in this day and age, we don't have a lot of control over that, but I think the trick is to get control of our emotions. And, you know, the nice thing about doing the kidney exercise is it kind of helps us, you know, stay strong. From a codger's perspective, you know, we're all starting to get arthritis, you know, and starting to get that involved. And the kidney controls bones and, you know, sort of the attachments to the bones. So if you have knees or fingers or other joints that aren't working real well, the kidney is something you want to keep up and keep involved. In general, the decline of the kidney is what makes us old. Our hair gets white, you know, we get more wrinkles. We go from being fresh, juicy young things to drying up and blowing away. So the trick is to try to preserve that kidney energy so we can get as much out of these old bodies as we can, you know, and that's what this one is. Now, the posture, if you all remember, you got to kind of come forward on your chair so your genital area is not supported. You know, we've talked about this before. When we vent, we can either vent through our mouth, but we can also vent through our other orifices, you know, our nose. And in men, you know, the genital area kind of acts as a heat sink. Women sort of have a natural chimney down there. But what we're trying to do is trying to vent all of that toxic damp and heat out through that area. And we stretch the kidneys by putting our feet together, joining our hands, pulling one hand on top of another, and then pulling back gently on our knees. Okay, remember that? And the noise we make, you have a choice. You can either do chew-a or the sound of wind going through a tunnel, like that. So either chew-a or the sound of wind going through the tunnel. It really doesn't matter. And as I've told you in the past, what you're looking for is which sound vibrates your kidney area the most. So I don't care, whatever you want to do. Okay? So let's put our feet together, pull back, and put a slight strain on our back and make our sound. And back. Palms up. So picture where your kidneys are. Picture them being a nice royal blue or a black. Think of letting go of your fear and doing the Dan Rather thing. Remember, he used to sign off his broadcasts with courage. Okay, so think of yourself as having great amounts of courage in a difficult time. Okay, next 2. Okay, picture your kidneys, nice blue-black area, and positive emotions. And last one. And back. Good. Questions about the kidneys? So we're doing a cycle of elements. We started with metal. Metal produces water, which is the kidney. Water produces what all of you are working out in your gardens on, green and wood, okay? So the next item that we're going to deal with is the liver. And the liver is that nice green color. We find it, and you're going to do the opposite of me. This is my right side, so the opposite on you, right up under your right rib cage. Okay, that's where the liver is. And what we're going to be doing is stretching to the left this way because it puts strain and stretches and massages the liver. The sound of the liver, and my wife always hates it when I say this, is the librarian noise, you know. Right now it's really quiet in libraries. Not too many people in there. But the shh sound, and the way we make it is that special shush. Remember I told you to kind of pull your lips back like this? Like that, okay? You want to pull them away from your face, okay? So they pull back. All right. So we're going to take our hands, bring them up, lean to the left, and make your liver sound. Come back to the center and down. Okay. So we're picturing our liver. It's nice and green, okay? Nice green liver, kind of like the color of my little garb here on top. The negative emotion associated with the liver, we're seeing a lot of. All those people running around like crazy people, throwing bricks through windows or whatever. It's anger, resentment, frustration, okay? So we want to let go of that. The positive thing with the liver is it's the organ of planning, okay? We use it to kind of keep our lives on a nice even keel and execute plans that we come up with, okay? So we want to stay centered, level. We don't want to be throwing bricks through windows, okay? And as frustrating as it can be living in these times, we want to try to let go of that, okay? Not let our tempers get the better of us. All right, here we go. Another one. Push, interlaced fingers, push up. Come back to the center. Picture that nice green liver. And one more. And then down. Good. Okay, any questions about our friend the liver?
But you always go to the one side when you're up here.
No, I'm about to show you going to the other side. Now,
Okay.
why are we leaning to the left? The reason why we're leaning to the left on this one, Ginny, is because we want to stretch our liver, right? Now
Okay.
we're about to do the heart. Show me where your heart's located, Ginny. Right, that's the left side. So we want to be able to then lean to the right and put a little pressure on that area to kind of squeeze the heart a little bit.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it depends, the side we lean to depends upon the organ, okay? Good question, you know. All right, so we are going to talk about the heart. We all know where our heart is. Ginny just showed us very nicely. It's on our left side here, you know, the side we do the Pledge of Allegiance on. That's the side I remember. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to squeeze out some really negative stuff. I mean, right now, the world, you know, needs more love, right? So that's the positive emotion. The negative emotion is bitterness and hate, okay? We want to get rid of that. Jealousy is another one. We think of jealousy in the Western canon of being green with envy. In Chinese, it's red with jealousy. So we want to let go of jealousy, hate, bitterness, you know, all of that is what we're letting go of. And we're filling our heart with joy and love. Okay, we need a lot more of that in these times. So this is a good exercise to do. The other thing about this one is that at night, to be able to get a good night's rest, what you have to do is allow your spirit to move from your brain down into your heart. And we say the Shen, or spirit, descends from the head into the heart where it sleeps sheltered and comfortable and warm, okay? So if you're all agitated and you're all up in your head and you're all getting upset and having an argument or something right before you go to bed, doing this one breathes all that energy out of you, okay, and cools you down and gets to so you get a good night's rest. The sound associated with this one is the sound, you know, the Hindus and the Zen people make when they meditate. Ho, as in Om, okay? So you're saying ho, but you're doing it as a quiet, as opposed to Om. You know, we're not making that noise. Okay? All right, here we go. Hands up, interlace your fingers, lean to the right, and feel it pull on your heart and make your ho sound. To the center and down. Let all that heat out of there. All the heat comes out of the heart. All that anger and bitterness, all let go of all that. Think of your heart as that nice big red thumping thing below your left rib cage there. Kind of in the center of your chest, but off to the left a little bit. Okay. Second one. Back to the center. Good. And one more. Center and down. Good. Okay. Any questions about the heart or the sound we make with it? Okay. Pretty straightforward. Very useful exercise if you're having a lot of trouble with insomnia. Okay. Next one, we've gone from metal producing water, water producing wood, wood just like what Ginny's doing up there in the mountains when it gets cold at night. She's throwing some wood on the fire. And fire produces earth. When she goes in the morning and she gets up, there's ashes in there, right? And that's earth, okay? Or a volcano producing earth in the form of lava that, you know, becomes earth. So we're going to be talking about earth, and that's the organ associated with that is the spleen. Now, the liver's on your right side, and you're going to do this the opposite of what you're seeing me do. Spleen is over here on your left side, up under your left rib cage, okay? So liver on this side, spleen on this side. The color associated with the spleen is yellow. Are your walls yellow, Annie?
Kind of, yes.
Okay, so picture your spleen being the color of her walls, okay? That's very nice yellow, by the way. It looks great on my screen, okay? So in any event, you think of golden colors like pumpkins and, you know, yellows that we see in the fall on the trees. Those nice aspens up there, Ginny, that's that color, okay, when they turn, right? So yellow. Now, what we do with our hands here is something interesting. Everybody remember this? We kind of take our fingers and we gently press them under our left rib cage, and that's where the spleen is located. And we want, as we make our sound, we want to gently press in. Do not dig your fingers in like this. Do not go digging in, okay? Don't be doing this kind of thing. Don't be digging, okay? It's pressing, okay? You want to press in here, okay, as opposed to digging, up under your rib cage. All you're going to do there is just hurt yourself. So don't be digging. All right, the sound we make is the owl sound. Everybody remember it? The whoo sound, like whoo. Okay, and the spleen is associated, and I'm certainly guilty of this these days. Overthinking. If we think too much, we damage our spleens. We basically become obsessed. We worry too much about stuff. So you want to get rid of worry, overthinking, obsession. And what we want to put in our spleens is compassion. Okay, thinking of other people before ourselves. Okay, so that's the positive emotion that we want to put in there. So don't overthink. Think about other people and helping other people, and that's the thing we want to put in there. Compassion. Okay. All right, take your fingers, press up underneath, and make your little whoo sound. And remember to lean forward a little bit so the fingers roll in just a little bit. Okay. Good. Resting posture. Think of your spleen up under your left rib cage there, right next to your stomach. You all know where your stomach is and what the stomach looks like. Spleen is that wobbly little thing that sits right next to the stomach, right next to the pancreas, actually. And let go of all your overthinking. Let all that stuff go. Okay, next one. Good. Yellow spleen, compassion for others, letting all that overthinking go. And then the last one. Good. Hands down. Excellent. Okay. Any questions about that? Remember, all the others, you need to have your belly empty. But this one you can do after eating a big meal. Okay? If you have a big meal, you can, do this set of exercises immediately after eating. I told you that story at the acupuncture college at the graduations. You get a free meal at this wonderful Chinese restaurant, and everybody makes pigs out of themselves because we don't have to pay for it. And I saw my teachers, long before I learned all this stuff, holding their bellies and making that noise. And I couldn't figure out what the hell they were doing. And then later when I learned the 6 healing sounds, I said, oh, they're trying to get their bellies opened up. All right, the last one, the 6th sound, is what we call the sound of the 3 burners, okay, the sanjiao. And remember, there are 3 burning spaces in your body. An upper one that's kind of your lungs, your heart, this area here. A middle one, which is mostly the spleen, but also some people put the liver there. And then the lower one, which is actually corresponding to the kidneys. And the idea here is you want to envision 3 different temperatures. You want to have a cool head, okay? So this area, your heart and your lungs are cool. A little warmer is your spleen because you want to have enough fire in there to be able to digest your food, okay? And then the kidney down in here, we want to have that be the warmest because that's where the nuclear furnace of the body is and, which powers everything. So the sound we make with this one is he, okay? Remember that? He, as in, like Heeeee. And what we try to do is as we're breathing and letting all this bad stuff out and letting good stuff come in, we're picturing heat coming down from our head, down through our torso, all the way out, down through our feet. Okay, so that's the envisioning thing. And this exercise is designed to kind of balance everything out. What I've been noticing in myself, which has kind of been odd, is between the hours of 9 and 11 p.m., I tend to feel pretty good. The rest of the day, it's kind of up and down, depending upon what's going on, what's in the news, just generally how I'm feeling, the weather. But somewhere between 9 and 11 o'clock, everything evens out. And in Chinese medicine, we have this thing called the Harari clock, and certain organ systems are active at certain times during the day. Like between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning, the liver is most active. Between 3 and 5, the lung is most active. Between 5 and 7, the large intestine, and so forth. And each organ system kind of has its time during the day when it's most active and interesting stuff is happening. Well, between 9 and 11 p.m., the most active time of the day is for the Sanjiao. And what's happening is I think my body is resetting itself and balancing out that fire and water in each one of these burners. And that's probably why I feel pretty good at that time. So, you know, take a look and see what's going on with yourself at some particular time of day. And at a later conversation, if you feel like sharing with me, I can say, oh, you know, your spleen is really working hard, you know, or your heart or something like that. So anyway, we're going to make the he sound. And on this one, we don't do anything with our hands except rest them here. But what we do is we close our eyes as we're making the he sound and picturing that energy, you know, being pushed out, all of the negative toxins and the excess heat being pushed down and out as we make the he sound. All right, here we go. Okay, when everything's out and we return to the center again, what we're picturing is 3 different lamps, sort of a low temperature one kind of in the upper part of our body, a bigger one in the middle, and then a big warm lamp burning at kind of around where your navel is. Okay? Again. Good. Picture your 3 lamps. Picture it as 3 fires, you know, 3 little fires, a little one, a middle, and then a big one. And one more. Good. Now, this sound here, normally we'll do sitting up. But if, let's say, you really get yourself evened out before you go to bed, you can lie on the floor, and you can do this exercise as the last one of the 6 sounds after you've done the preceding 5, and then get right into bed, and that should help you get to sleep. Okay? So that's it. That's my little spiel. Questions?